All right, everyone. This is the panel on infinite life cycle of hardware, specifically ASIC repairs. I'm gonna give each one of you the mic, or you speak about who you are, what your company is, and what you do. Go ahead.
Hey guys, I'm Gerald Wilkie, president and founder of HMTech. We've been in the space professionally since 2014.
Hi, I'm Alex Hayes. My company's Orion and Taurus, and we're a little newer to the scene than 2014, but we're excited about the space and trying to continue to fill these a much needed service in our industry of the repair.
Hello everyone, I'm Michael Valenzeula from Kaboomracks. I'm our warehouse and production manager in Phoenix, focused mainly on repair and refurbishment of ASICs.
Hey, how's it going, everybody? Adam Krynski here with ASIC Master. We're based out in Chicago, also doing ASIC Miner Repairs, and haven't been around in repairs since 2014. That's quite a feat there, but I've been mining since around there, so I've been in the industry for quite a while. Hand it over to Dan now.
Hi, my name is Dan Haas. I work for DLI in R&D and repair. We have a program called Miner Guard, and we also do MOS, which is mining as a service, in our Tier 3 SOC 2 data center down in Columbus, Georgia.
All right, wonderful. And my name is Alejandro de la Torre. I work for Proof of Work Energy with containers, and I set up my own farms. So I'll take it to the very simple question. What is the biggest challenge in ASIC repair?
That's broad, right? So as a lot of people know, semiconductor industry left the United States a long time ago. So staff is tough. There's not anybody with a wealth of experience, here in the States or labor market that we can pull from. So when we talk about adding ASIC repair techs and being able to service these miners, the training and the selection process is it's an endeavor, right, to say the least. So to hire new staff and get them to the level where they're proficient enough to actually handle a client machine, you're talking, 3 to 6 months to where they're really, really proficient. So we could talk forever about the challenges, but I think from where we see it, that's number one, is getting the labor and the staff to get this stuff done.
Right. Okay. Yeah. Actually, I always said that one of the biggest opportunities in this industry is to repair ASICs, to learn how to repair ASICs.
So we'll expand on that a little bit more. I definitely agree that qualified labor pool is difficult to find. And so one of the things that we're hoping to do is to try to bring in a continuous education program into this, where we start to take this industry a little bit more seriously, where there's now so many more of these printed circuit boards are in circulation than there were before, and that means that the people that were in this industry that did this professionally before in the traditional data center world, working for NASA or they're working for big tech, they already have jobs, so they're not coming into our industry. So what we need to do is we need to start by building programs for dedicated for education to really make it an apprenticeship program, journeyman, master trade, because that's what this is. This is a skilled trade that you take years to perfect your craft, and that's what we're hoping to do, is be able to provide really good jobs for our country and for people that really need jobs and need to get into an education program to be able to provide for their families. So that's what we're hoping to do.
I think these two guys really hit the nail on the head with that. Finding labor and people who are educated and know what they do is really the biggest struggle we've been trying to overcome. I think working in the industry without a standardized kind of labor pool, without a standardized set of requirements, is very challenging. Setting up education bases like you guys are just talking about is very going to be key in the future. So as a community, we really need to work on a standardized procedure. I think these guys up here are going to be key in that.
I'll add to what everybody said here. Talent does not really exist in the United States for miner repair right now. The core focus of ASIC Master for the last 6 months or so has been actually providing training and education for this industry. We've put about 50 plus students through our program thus far this year. We've also signed partnerships with Bitmain to run their training program. So it is very crucial to provide all the training and education out there to help bring on more technicians and even help transform or repurpose existing skill sets, such as pre-existing career paths, cell phone repair, computer repair, etc., to help people get into this space. But beyond just having the labor pool and finding someone and training them over 3 to 6 months, the information is very difficult. It's very fragmented. It's pretty much non-existent. In order to get any sort of information, you have to do very extensive networking. We have people that we pay in China and in Russia and in Latin America to provide technical support to our teams. So bringing all that information together and standardizing it is going to be crucial to help bring on more technicians and help make this a little bit easier to repair.
I'd agree with the sentiments of everyone else. The available information is very hard to come by, so being able to trust that what you're reading and seeing is accurate is only measured through your physical testing of it and documenting that process. And then the skill set developing of technicians is something that we've been working on as well, going down the same vein as ASIC Master, in developing our program that incorporates IPC standards for soldering and understanding of components and PCBs and how all those things flow together, and then getting on top of that, teaching people how to troubleshoot issues that are happening. There's a lot of information available throughout different industries that apply to what we do. So trying to pull those standards that already exist for the last few decades into this industry helps kind of bring a legitimacy to what we do and what we're trying to do. So.
Yeah, so it seems there's a lot of jobs available in this industry, and
we're always hiring.
You're always hiring, and there is training involved as well. So
we're hiring in Chicago too.
There you go. Everyone's hiring teams on here. I'm not hiring though. So let's take a step back. And one question, as a miner, I know I have all the time is, how do I avoid to call you guys? How do I avoid an ASIC to get to the point where I need a repair?
Right. So, yeah, fantastic, right? So a lot of people don't look at preventative maintenance, right? So you get a shipment in from MicroBT, you've got 1,000 units you're ready to deploy, you're ready to make some Bitcoin. The thought about, hey, what's my air filtration look like? What's the humidity level look like? A lot of these back-end questions that are preventative maintenance are missed. So as you guys are all out there thinking about, hey, I want to mine Bitcoin, I'm going to make a mine, I'm going to invest, I'm going to send this to a hosting facility here or there. There's a lot of background questions, right? So the type of facility, what does their HVAC look like? What's their cleaning procedure look like? Because a lot of times my guys will all come by the office, right? So the technicians come in, like, hey, do you see these units come in? No, why, what's up? They're full of bugs or they're full of coal, like where these things run at. So I think a lot of folks miss that. There's not enough due diligence that's done as to where my machines are going to go and what type of facility are they going to run in. So how are they going to be treated?
100% agree. It's I think setup is a big factor. Absolutely, everything depends, because there's so many environmental factors that go in with an air-cooled data center operation. So you gotta, what kind of filters are you running? What's the pollen in the area? What's the dust situation look like? There's so many different factors that go into it, and that a 6-month pull off the shelf and dust it out, clean it out may not be enough. You may need to do it more regularly. So everything depends on your location and what it is how your operation is really set up. External, like the heat wave that just come across our country, like how does that affect you? Are you taking proper measures? Maybe you need to start instituting like a cool down method of a sprinkler system on top of your containers outside to help cool down the externals. Maybe that helps bring down the heat. Like there's certain things that you can do, be proactive about it, but there's you can't get away from the routine maintenance. Got to have a SOP for sure.
Thank you, guys. Well, I think we can beat preventative maintenance in the ground. Like these guys said, filtration, regular maintenance, having a maintenance plan. We do that with fleet vehicles. We do that with most industries. I don't think we see that yet in this space, and I think that's something that really needs to be developed, and Kaboomracks works diligently to try and provide that to our clients. Come out on site, do the deployments for you, manage the equipment, and get those things cleaned in an environment where they're going to stay clean and avoid keep going on any of our tables, because that's really key in keeping your costs down.
I'm not sure there's really much I can add other than myself being a Bitcoin miner, there is a race against time, and sometimes we just do not care if it's the outside, inside, how humid it is, because I want to get the most Bitcoin I can, the fastest I can. So as someone that operates a repair center, we do get machines with coal and bird feathers and bugs and bees, and it's very difficult to convince people to think about that when you're in an industry when there is a race against time, and sometimes you just don't have the time to plan out the perfect humidity, the perfect air, the perfect temperature, the perfect spot. So it's a difficult battle to fight with our customers, because that's really why we rolled out an education program, because we want to make sure that you consider those things before you actually start mining, and we try to get you guys to be able to at least repair at least half of what is broken on site, because if a customer sends us a machine that they think is dead when it just needs a new fan, it's now they wasted weeks or months possibly. So what these guys have said, I mean, I couldn't trust it anymore. Preventative maintenance, standard operating procedures are a must.
Yeah, this was a topic that we created a presentation and gave at Bitcoin this year, just 2 months ago, and giving visual evidence of what happens when you just don't pay attention to something that you potentially paid the price of a car for, and it's damaging not only to your ability to mine, but then your ability to resell the machine if you do want to upgrade, and there's other people that want to get into the space with used machines, because lots of folks have gone and tried to buy bulk machines from other countries, and they're hoping that half of them work when they go to plug them in. We've gotten those same shipments in for review before we sent them to a customer, and the video and evidence of what they look like is really horrifying. But having that program allows you a good ROI, and that's why we developed the programming we did for maintenance and the services to come to your facility, clean your machines, or you send them to us and we'll clean them with full evidence of what it looked like before and after, and hashing and all that fun stuff. So yeah, it's a struggle to get folks to realize that they need to put as much effort into maintenance as they do into the thought of mining and just stacking sats. So
actually, I have a story about let's say not very cared for mining operation. There was actually a bird nest in one of them, and the birds were thriving. They had a couple eggs in there and everything. They seemed very happy. So try not to have bird nests in your operation, I would say. Let's move on to the hash boards. What can you guys give me? Tell me something about hash boards. What is your biggest challenge? What is the cool things about it? What trends do you see in hash boards? Where do you see the chip repair of the ASICs moving to? These sort of things. Yeah.
So that's another broad question. As we see the architecture change and continuously get smaller, we're seeing temps that are getting tighter as far as the range of tolerance that the chips can do. If we look at the S9 or prior, right, those things were tanks. I feel like you could leave the S9 in a desert, it would continuously run. It doesn't care. But now as we get more advanced circuitry, we go to 5, soon to be 3 nanometer chips. I think the tolerances are going to get a lot tighter, so they're not going to be as happy to run in a 100-degree container in Midwest Texas. And this is something that I think we avoided the last question too. We should probably touch on is immersion. There's a lot of immersion vendors here today, and there's a lot of mixed feelings on it. Your cost per watt to deploy is a lot higher, but it answers a lot of the questions and the concerns that we all had about how to continue the life cycle of the miner to keep it running longer, and keep the client making more Bitcoin. I think the same is going to hold true as we start to look to the next cycle of hardware, and the fact that it's going to need an environment that's a little bit closer to a traditional data center as far as temps and environment are concerned.
I have the feeling that fan cooling's not going to be applicable anymore. You're going to have an optimal environment to run the machine, and if you don't, it's going to break. So you're going to have to come up with better ways to cool it than just throwing whatever's in the environment over the top of your PCBs and hoping that that's enough. I don't. Everything is getting more and more sensitive as we push more power, more voltage through the boards, and they're going to have to be more purpose built for that. Hopefully they are, but yeah, fan cooling may end up being a thing of the past for anything going forward.
Yeah, I'm really excited to see there's a couple really innovative technology cooling solutions here. One of them's over there in the corner, right now at the stage, is Jet Cool. They got it. I'm really curious to see how they continue to develop their product. It's liquid cooled with a plate as opposed to being completely immersed. There's another vendor out in the front, Dragonfly, that's got an interesting setup where they're going to a high compute. So it's these kind of innovative thought process. We're getting smarter, we're getting more and more advanced, but I see definitely moving to a high compute, high density, process rather than having individual miners as we knew them. So that's the next. It's the level up, right? That's the level up to go to the big data center, high compute, high density, environment. So that it's really, really awesome to see things scale up.
I think there's some really good points there. I think, harkening back to the title of this panel, we're looking at the infinite life cycle of miner hardware, something like that. We're talking about the next generation of miners, but I think we're looking over kind of retrofitting our previous generations, looking at S17s, M20s. These are equipment that now stateside power costs make them kind of not quite so viable. But looking abroad, looking at our partners in other countries, we're seeing, we can see a lot more longevity use case there. Things like the S17, everybody knows heat sinks on those are a little notorious for coming off. I think there's a lot of good vendors that are working on, replacement heat sinks, monoblock, stuff like that. You touched on Jet Cool with these liquid cooling plates. Stuff like that adds a little bit of cost to some older equipment, but it's going to allow it to run for a lot longer, especially in places where electric cost is somewhere in the neighborhood of 1 to 3 cents a kilowatt. Where you shouldn't just look here in the States where we're looking at seeing an ever-increasing power cost. We're going to look and hopefully, really decentralize this blockchain that we're hoping to prop up, and that's, I think, a good way we can do that.
Yeah, the only thing other I'd add is probably just like I'm looking forward to seeing more manufacturers. Because that means more creativity and more job opportunities and more education. And also, right now there's really 2 companies that are dominating, and they make their own design. Doesn't necessarily conform to many standards. So it'd be interesting to see more companies and getting something more standardized and making this industry, bringing some more automation when it comes to repairing. It really feels like working on a Rolls Royce, like one thing at a time, and no 2 hash boards are the same. Like you literally pull out 2 hash boards from the same machine and it's going to be like completely different. I don't understand how that works, but maybe sometime soon it'll be a little bit more standardized, and it would allow all of us here to maybe work more efficiently, because some of these hash boards are just like a black hole.
So let's add. Let me add to that. What would you what will you tell a future manufacturer, all right, ASIC manufacturer? What sort of points and advice would you give to them if they want to build their own ASIC Bitcoin mining machine? Is that one hard?
That's
Too hard for me.
That's a deep rabbit hole, for sure.
But I mean, give it a shot.
So they have to be committed. Are you when you look at whether you're interested or committed? So if you're going to design an ASIC, there's a handful of folks in the world that have got the necessary skills and the toolbox to make that happen. From a wish list perspective, like I couldn't tell them how to design it, but from a wish list perspective, if you look at most other industries, whether it's manufacturing, thermoplastics, whatever, you've got manufacturer support, where if a factory has a machine where they're running whatever type of parts, they can have the factory rep come and visit, factory rep to explain, right, help understand the design, repair, complete in and out. So for me, the only real wish list would be, that type of support where the manufacturer's got people that are identified in role, not a one-off, right, but an actual program where they can say, all right, you're going to go to these shops or these facilities, and you're going to help with the maintenance or train on the new design or what have you. That way there's always infinite training to go on with our infinite life cycle.
So pulling from experience in my previous life as a merchant mariner, there's at sea, when the naval architects that build the ships are a different crew and different crowd than the guys that operate the ships. And there's a big disconnect. And when you have that, when those two sides don't talk to each other, you get a lot of frustration and a lot of friction on the maintenance and repair and on the operations side. And I think if there was, I think more dialogue between the two groups would be beneficial, because that would only benefit you guys as the end client, the end user. You guys would enjoy the benefits of having a smoother operating system, but then also faster repairs, which means less downtime. So I think that really just talking to the community and the repair community, and let's start a conversation about, okay, where are our challenges that we're having? How can we mitigate downtime and help expedite the process if this was the issue? What are the common issues that we're seeing here? Like, how do we build processes together to bridge the gap between the naval architectures and the operators on the ship? Like, how do we bridge this divide? So I would say just more collaboration.
I think, touching on your guys' points there, I think the first manufacturer is going to come out and actually provide a comprehensive manufacturer support system and education program. They're going to be the ones that are going to dominate this market. Continuing have to go, like Adam talked about, reaching out to industry partners that are using this equipment abroad, having to use their experience versus the actual manufacturer. We're in a very big industry, and I think it's time that we grow up a little bit.
Yeah, like a Repair Technicians Alliance would probably be really cool to see. All of us could get together, elect a council member that can act on our behalf and work directly with manufacturers to design something that really works for everybody to help support the industry. Would be awesome.
Yeah, I'm fully on board with that, being able to work together to disseminate information out to everybody so that everyone can work efficiently. There's plenty of work available for all of us, so it's not like you need to compete to make money, because there's a ton of people who need repairs. And if I did have a wish list, it would be something like a chip bypassing, so that one chip goes down, it doesn't break the chain, and better controls with the stock firmware. So you don't necessarily have to update to anything aftermarket to adjust. But yes.
Great answers. So I'm gonna go ahead and open up the Q&A to the crowd. So let's see what type of questions. I'm sure there's a bunch. Is there any questions for these gentlemen here about ASIC repairs or anything to do with mining and ASICs? Don't go. No. Okay, back there, Philip.
Here, let me just throw the microphone over so everybody
One
can
sec.
Thanks, man. Okay, yeah. Question, what do you prefer from a repair perspective? One big heat sinker of the whole hashboard or many small ones?
Yeah, that's. I think everybody's going to have the same answer, right? So the multiple heat sinks created an ungodly amount of work for us. So that part was cool, but the rest of it sucked. So monoplate is definitely the best.
Yeah, the grease is not fun to play with, so but pros and cons.
Yeah, agreed. Plate.
Plate for sure all day.
Okay. Any other questions in the audience? Okay. All right then. Do you guys have anything more to say, or shall we? I don't know. Shall we call it a day? Get on stage here.
I would just close out when we talk about the life cycle of the hardware that you're choosing to buy. I think a lot of folks, as we saw in the last bull run and transition to a bear market, a lot of folks bought at the top, wound up getting hosed, went out of business. A lot of hard feelings about it. So part of the infinite life cycle is knowing when to buy and when to sell, right? So making sure that you're choosing the right gear, the right price per terahash, the right hosting cost, or if you're self-mining, right, the right PPA. Finding out all this stuff and just and slowing down. Like we did a panel this morning about don't die mining Bitcoin, and we talked about making sure that we use professionals and you don't take shortcuts when it comes to electrical safety and all that kind of stuff. When we talk about when to buy and how to maintain, just slow down. We're all here for a long time. There's plenty of money to get made, plenty of Bitcoin to mine. Like somebody else alluded to, 2144 is when mining's over. Plenty of time. Let's slow down and do it right.
I would say making sure that you do the right education of before you jump in, like you said, knowing when to buy. It is also about doing your own homework and the education. Make sure you understand, all right, where am I putting my miner? What's the operating conditions going to be? What's the uptime probability? Air cooled versus immersion versus plate. What do I want to do? Who do I want to trust to be able to operate the machines? What's their SOPs? What do they do? Who's their repair partners? Like, how trained are their staff? But, you want to have an education as far as what it is that you're buying into. When I first jumped into it, I bought the Magic Money Box myself, and we went to town, but through the process, it was there was a lot of things that I had to learn the hard way, and I've worked with a few different individuals now, professionals that they stopped, they did the homework, did the research, and they came to the right decisions. And only through education do you better yourself, and it makes you stronger, makes you a smarter consumer and a smarter operator as a Bitcoiner. So education is high priority.
All right, guys. This infinite life cycle, I think we really need to look at extending our lifetime with our miners. No matter what you do, I think it's always going to be less expensive to properly maintain your equipment than it would be to repair anything you can do out there. Changing filters, monthly cleanings, anything like that. You can change a lot of filters for the same cost as the hashboard. I think that's something that this industry really needs to keep a little more in mind.
I'm going to throw a little curveball here. Alejandro had asked about, topics we may be interested in. From the panel here, I'd actually be really interested in maybe discussing the economics of a repair center and what I think we all here sort of serve a little bit of a different set of customers. Maybe each one of us here can touch a little bit on just the business model here for the folks here that may be interested in opening up their own repair center or getting into this space. As I mentioned earlier, ASIC Master is focused on education over the last 6 months or so. We are now focusing on what's miner repairs, specifically serving warranty services. We do also serve private parties, corporations, small customers, small farmers. But I'd be interested in hearing where you guys are focusing and seeing most of the demand come through. For anyone here that would be interested in potentially entering that space, I guess my question would be, how can someone enter this space today?
That's a big question. I think just to give you guys some background, Kaboomracks focus is on, holding a client's hand from this beginning to the end of these miners' life cycle. We focus on acquisition, we focus on site deployment and development, focus on repair and refurbishment. That's what Adam's really touching on here. Our biggest client base are our own clients. We're looking to service the equipment they've had for maybe 2-3 years, looking to see about cleaning those guys up, making sure they're running for as long as possible. I think, Adam, you mentioned how can somebody jump in today. There is a plethora of information online regarding repair. There's self-education and understanding the equipment to begin with is going to be key. And then working with partners who provide education and some experience. There's a lot of good, all these guys up here are rock stars, so check them out.
So our business model is based off of pretty much two founding principles. And the first one is the client experience, making sure that there's excellent communication between us and you guys, to make sure everybody knows what's going on, informing, good procedures, good diagnostic services, just giving you as much education and information as you can to make informed decisions about whether to repair or not to repair. If it's not, when is it not worth it anymore? But the second focus that we really are going to be focusing on is our people, right? It's the workforce. It's investing in the future of jobs, the future of our industry, future of growing a tech industry, giving it the labor force that it needs, and that starts with the right foundation, the right culture of the people that are actually working on your boards. They have to be trained properly, but they also have to be the right type of people that are, the guys that you really want touching your units, right? Professionals. You want true professionals that are going through a real program and taking it as a real career path. We want this to be a career path for people, where apprenticeship, journeyman, master, and I think that's what our industry needs to be really professional. So, anybody that really wants to get into the industry, that's what you should really be thinking about. Like, how can I make this professional? Like, this is not, nothing that we're doing up here, any of us here, this is not a get-rich-quick scheme. We're not here, this is not something you're going to do for, 2 weeks and you're going to be an expert. It takes a long time to be proficient at any craft. Again, when I was a merchant mariner, I was in the Merchant Marines for 12 years. I went to school for 4 more of that, so it took 16 years for me to be able to say that I was an expert in my craft and have a master's license and unlimited tonnage. So it takes time. It takes time to start something and do it well and do it right. So that's what we want to focus on. You guys as the client, great experience, and then also investing in the right people and our people, and build out our industry from the ground up.
And speaking to that too, one of the things that we've been focused on is process development, whether or not that is, and how we would train a tech going forward, developing the training program, or understanding a repair process for each model. As we stated before, there's numerous models. There's not much consistency, so there's different issues with each model that you will encounter. So understanding each PCB is going to have a different type of quirk to it, understanding common failures, and then you're always going to run into things that just don't make sense. But that is, I came from an IT background. That happens in any kind of tech field. So, but giving people the amount of education that they need and understanding information that they need to be able to encounter something that just doesn't make sense, and move forward through that, and develop themselves maybe a process to overcome that hurdle. That's kind of where we've been focused at DLI, and providing services, yes, to help people understand that they need to create a maintenance budget for these machines that they're buying. You have a maintenance budget for your car. You need them for these machines that are basically the price of a car. So,
cool. So, I think to answer the question, like if you wanted to get into it today, I feel like we had it a little bit easier when we started out with ASIC Repair. We got to spend about 5 weeks a year in Shenzhen with the manufacturers, pre-COVID, and that experience and the direct training from the folks that were masters of their craft was irreplaceable. So hopefully, as COVID wanes and the restrictions go away, I'd say that's step one. The manufacturers are super cool, right? So when you call them up and you're like, hey man, I want to learn how to repair your stuff. I'd love to be warranty authorized, but even if not, I want to be trained by you guys. Spend that time, invest that money. It's just, like I said, it's irreplaceable. Let's say COVID restrictions stay in place. Maybe you can't get over there to visit, or it's not convenient to visit, whatever. The manufacturers will still work with you. You can do video trainings. They could do Zoom calls. They could show you and provide the documentation. But spend that time and then invest that, 2, 3, 5 weeks, whatever it might be, with the vendor, so that way you can really get up to speed. I think that's critical if you want to join the space. And as far as a business model, we found that it's best to keep it really, really simple, right? So our goal was 100% say and do ratio. So as a client says, hey, I've got a request, here's what we'd like to do, here's our timeline. If we say yes, we do it. A lot of folks in our space, unfortunately, don't do that. So say and do ratio, which is, for us, builds the trust and the relationships with our clients. So
Great. So I would like to ask one last question. What is the S9 still being repaired today? Are you guys still repairing S9s?
We're not, but we do have a lot of requests. Like, people are still running them. They will not die.
Yeah, we still see a few of them in the wild.
Wow.
I think repairing S9s is a little, it's outdated, but I think there's a lot of equipment for those. It's available. I think straight repair, replacing ASICs, it's a little overkill these days, but coming across an extra hash board, that's pretty simple.
Yeah, I can't really see myself adding much more to this. We have customers that sent us S9s and they don't even want them back. So there's definitely repairs going on in Latin America. They are probably the most popular machine in Latin America, South America. S9s are like the bread and butter of that space, but not here in the U.S. I don't think.
Yeah, we have some still sitting on the shelf that we haven't gotten to yet, working on different projects. So, yeah, that's not a primary focus for us in fixing S9s. So,
Alejandro, do you have an S9?
I do, actually. I have a few.
Please do tell us. Do they still run? And tell us about your maintenance plan, how you keep them alive.
I just play around with them. I open up and I mess around with the hash boards, and I don't know what I'm doing. I'm not nowhere near to where you guys are at. I use it more as just to put my coffee on my. It's on my office. I put my coffee on it. I feel good doing it.
You use it to heat up your coffee. I use it as a paperweight. It works great at the office.
All right. Thank you very much, guys. Thank you, everyone. Thank you.